Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Talk Connected Podcast, a podcast where we are here to educate, inspire, and inform listeners, viewers, communities about real life situations, real life challenges, have open discussions about mental health and your emotional well being. So, my name is Virginia Murray. I am a licensed professional counselor, and let's just jump into it, right? So, our last episode, we talked about what is mental health. We gave just a general overview, kind of on the surface level of what mental health is, how it can affect everyone, and how to navigate it in our everyday lives. And when I say everyone, I want to reiterate that everyone has mental health. You do not have to have a diagnosis of any kind or sort to have mental health. It is just a part of your mental and emotional well being. It is a part of having a healthy or unhealthy mindset and how to better take care of ourselves to get into that healthy place. That's where the navigation comes in, right? So if you have not listened to that episode, I encourage you to listen to that episode. And let's talk about check ins now. So, like I like to start off every podcast episode is asking yourself, have you checked in on yourself today? It does not matter if it is the morning, the afternoon, the evening, nighttime, if you are laying down to go to bed, or if you are just waking up. Checking in on yourself and how you're feeling is so important. Number one, because you stay in tune with where you're at and how you are, and how you're feeling mentally, emotionally, and even physically, right? Sometimes we can have aches and pains in our bodies, and we need things for that, not just our mental and emotional, because we know that they're all connected. Mental, emotional, physical, they're all connected. Our physical health and how we're feeling physically can impact our mental and emotional health, and our mental and emotional health, can also impact physically the things that we feel. I've talked about in an episode how sometimes anxiety, starts off as an anxious thought inside of our mind, but we experience physical symptoms. Whether our heart races, our stomach starts to hurt, our palms start to get sweaty. So our mental, emotional, and physical health can be all interconnected with each other. So, what is a check in, right? The first thing I like to ask people to ask themselves is, how do I feel right now? How do I feel presently in this moment? Do I feel anxious, upset? Do I feel nervous about something? Do I feel just exhausted from my day? And the second step of the check in, you ask yourself how you feel, you acknowledge how you feel. And then after you acknowledge how you feel, you ask yourself, is there anything that I could give myself either right now or sometime throughout the day to make myself feel just a little bit better and decompress? And no, this is not an overall, if I do this check in and I give myself what I need, overall, I'll be okay. Because we know taking care of ourselves, there has to be some level of management, consistency, ongoing. The check in may just be a moment to decompress, a moment to take your stress levels from here to here. It's just something that's going to help you in that moment to figure out how to better manage and find consistency with taking care of yourself. And again, I tell people all the time, self-care and emotional management should not feel like a chore. Do we have to find the motivation to do certain things? Absolutely. Like working out, right? We know that it feels good while we're doing it or the after effects, but sometimes we need to build up the motivation to actually get in the gym or to hit a home workout or to walk around the neighborhood, right? Because it's not everybody's favorite thing to do. Some people love it, but some people have to find that motivation within themselves to actually get to the point to start doing that act. Right. So sometimes we got to find the motivation to do it, but self care should not feel like a chore. Okay. Self care should be decompressing. Self-care should be something that makes us feel like whew, that sigh of relief within inside of us to where it's okay, I can continue with my day or I do feel a little bit better. So if you need a second to pause the podcast, check in on yourself, ask yourself how you're feeling, and if there's anything that you can do that would make you feel just a little bit better in this moment, please take some time to do that. Outside of that, we are going to continue today's podcast. Today's podcast is about boundaries. Boundaries, 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 which is a hot topic in mental health, right? So, we want to talk about what is a boundary. We're also going to review and discuss a little bit about how to implement a boundary. We're going to navigate some of the difficulties in setting boundaries, not just with other people, but also with ourselves. I love to say we are the foundation of how other people can either treat us or, how we exude ourselves in the real world. So when I say that, right, because we don't always have control over how people treat us, right? But when we learn how to treat ourselves, it's just something that we pour inside of us, which can overflow to what we choose to accept from other people. So no, we don't have control over if other people want to overstep our boundaries. We don't have control over how other people talk to us, how they behave with us, their actions toward us. But we can be an example based off of what we learn and what we pour inside of ourselves to what we choose to accept and how we choose to react to such behaviors, actions, or words from the other people. A lot of times we get caught up on what other people may be doing or saying to us, and we react to that, and we try to find some kind of control in that, and we waste all of this energy, all of these reactions, all of this time. But we have to start zoning in, what can I control? Because when we figure out what we can control, that deserves our energy. That deserves our time, right? That's how we pour inside of ourselves, and that's how we start to make change and difference in our lives. If we pour energy into what's outside of our bubble of control, we're not going to have anything for what's actually inside of our bubble of control. And we put ourselves on the back burner, and then we don't know where to start with ourselves. So we have to pour inside of ourselves first and foremost, and why I bring this up is because you have to have some level of capacity, right? When you start to want to set boundaries within yourself, want to start boundaries in your relationships with other people, you have to say, do I have the capacity to start this journey? Because as much as I love the saying, no is a complete sentence and no is a boundary that you can set with other people, do you then have the capacity for consistency to uphold that no? Because I'm going to tell you, a lot of people start off, I am burnt out, I'm exhausted, I'm making changes, I'm saying no to people. And then people keep pressing and pressing and pressing and pressing. And then all of a sudden you find that that boundary is gone again because you're just like, I'm exhausted, I don't have the energy, I'm just going to do it. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna say yes. I'm just gonna, because I don't have the energy to continue to press this no and stand on my boundary the way that I need to stand on it in consistency. And that's how a lot of people say, I start off good with my boundaries, but then I don't know what happens. I always get to this one point and then I just fall right back into the same cycle of being a people pleaser or saying yes or doing the things that I said I wouldn't do. Right? So the first thing is, when you decide that you want to set boundaries, take care of yourself, pour into yourself, get yourself in a position where you have the mental and emotional capacity to deal with navigating that boundary or those boundaries that you set, because it is going to take work. It is going to take energy and effort to maintain boundaries that you set with people or that you set with yourself. Setting boundaries can be very repetitive. You may have to say no multiple times. You may have to do something multiple times. You may have to remind yourself multiple times, right? It's not just I'm going to do this and move forward with it. You have to remind yourself there will be trial and error in your boundaries. You'll find that maybe a boundary will work for 3 months and then life experiences change. And now all of a sudden I have to change my boundary, right? Setting boundaries and navigating it, you have to have the capacity to do so, which is why it's so important to take care of yourself. That ties into your mental health. Where is my mental and emotional health? Where is my capacity at? Do I have the energy to pour into this? And if not, how do I build myself up to start this journey of navigating boundary setting, right? And this may not be true for everyone. Some people may be like, nope, that's it. It's easier for some people. Some people could just go cold turkey, right? But for a lot of people, in my experience in working with a lot of people, you start a boundary, you get to a certain point, and then all of a sudden the boundary falls off. And we're sitting here like, well, what happened? Well, I was exhausted. I was tired of saying no. I felt guilty, and these are things that you have to navigate and work through as you're pushing through and setting these boundaries, right? So what is a boundary? What is a boundary? I'm going to tell you what a boundary is. So a boundary is making changes in your life. It is something that you decide that helps make a change in your life that leads to a more healthy outcome for you, a more healthier state of life where you don't have to deal with a high level of stress, a high level of anxiety about things, a high level of burnout because you are not having boundaries in your life. People are taking advantage of you. People you feel may be walking over you. Just you don't experience that burnout anymore. Setting a boundary in your life, a boundary is something to whereas when you decide to make a change in your life, it is a stance that you are taking. It is a change that you are making to create more of a healthier environment in your life for your overall benefit, right? And we know that when we make changes in our lives, it's not like we just make the change and that's it, right? We talked about a couple of minutes ago, when we decide to make changes in our lives, it's something that we also have to work for and maintain. We have to work for our good health when it comes to mental and emotional well-being. Physically, we know when we work out, right? Why are we working out? To be healthier, right? We have goals to be healthier. That's why we work out. And so if we know that we have to work out consistently and continually to maintain our physical health, we also have to do the same for our mental and emotional health as well. We have to work for it. It is work. You ever feel mentally exhausted and drained, but not physically? Sometimes you're just like, it's not my physical body. Like I could get up and do things, but mentally, I'm overstimulated and I'm checked out, right? It's the same. It's the same. And that's why I said in the beginning of this episode that it's all interconnected because they can bounce off of each other, but just like in our physical bodies, we have to maintain and work mentally and emotionally as well. So, boundaries are changes that we decide to make in our lives that enable a more healthier, stable lifestyle and environment for us to live in and create within our lives. Okay. So when I'm describing boundaries, right, I love analogies, I love imagery. So I love to, when I'm describing something, try to put something creative in people's minds that they can actually visualize or see. So when I talk about boundaries, oftentimes I tell people, a lot of times because of life experience, we come into situations or relationships with people and we have these big titanium walls in front of us. And they are defenses that protect us from getting hurt, right? So because you've gone through life, because you may have experienced hurt, pain, disappointment from someone at some point in your life, if you have, sometimes we say never again, especially if you've experienced it in a recurring manner. If it's happened to you over and over and over and over again, Maybe you just have a good heart. Maybe you wear your heart on your sleeve. Maybe you say, I look at the glass half full instead of half empty. Maybe you say, I see the good in people. And every time I see the good in people, I always end up disappointed or hurt, right? But then you get to this point and you're like, no more, no more. I can't keep allowing myself to get hurt. So what do we do naturally? We put up defenses to protect our heart, to protect ourselves. And we mean no harm when we put these defenses up, right? So I want you to just imagine a big titanium wall, impenetrable wall in front of you that you said, I'm putting this here because I don't want to get hurt again. Now, when you meet someone genuine in your life, there are a lot of disgenuine people out there, right? Because of the hurt and trauma that they've gone through themselves. But when you meet someone genuine in your life, and now you have this big titanium wall up, and you have trust issues or, whatever, but you recognize this person is genuine in your life and they have a good heart. And you try to allow love to flow out. It's hitting the wall that you have there and it cannot flow to the other person. And the other person, they're trying to give you genuine love, but it's hitting that wall and you're just like, nope, I got to see first. I got to make sure you don't disappoint me. I got to make sure you don't hurt me. And there's nothing wrong with making sure someone doesn't hurt you. But when there is a big impenetrable wall there, you can't evaluate or assess anything. Nothing's going out and nothing's coming in, right? You see it. You can feel that they're genuine, but emotionally, nothing's going out and nothing's coming in. It's not being translated to each other effectively because you have this big, impenetrable emotional wall there to protect yourself. So when I'm talking about boundaries, I try to allow people to see that imagery of the wall, and I say, when we have boundaries, we have to allow a flow to happen so we can experience, observe, and see how and who the other person is clearly so that we can determine if they deserve access to us in certain ways or not. We can't fully see that with the wall there, so we're just taking a chance. And we're saying, okay, if I give you access, don't hurt me. But because that wall's there, I didn't get a chance to fully observe and see if you deserved access to me. So when I talk about boundaries, I like to tell people we have to put down our defenses and our walls. And that's another thing, right? Before you set a boundary, you have to make sure that you take down your defenses and walls in a healthy way, which is another process in itself, right? We'll talk about that on another episode coming up of how to take down defenses and walls and guards in our lives. But when we are setting boundaries, I want people to think about boundaries like lines in the sand. If you've ever gone to a beach, if you've ever been to a beach, if you've ever seen someone on the beach on TV, imagine a boundary, not like a big wall of defense. We want to protect ourselves, but there's a way that we need to see clearly. So if you're at the beach and you draw a line in the sand in front of you, imagine that it's you and another person standing in front of each other. And you draw this line in the sand in between the two of you. Now that line in the sand represents your boundary, and that you're setting within that relationship. And it's not okay to cross this boundary. And we're talking when we have people in our lives that can respect, right? That can respect our boundaries. We have this boundary, this line in the sand between us. Please don't cross it. But because it's a line in the sand and it's not a big wall of defense, I can see you. I can see how you're moving. I can see how you're behaving. I can see you talking. Because there's something about when you can't see someone and you're talking on the phone with someone, you can't see them, you can't see their body language, you can just hear their tone. Maybe you can't feel things. There's something about texting someone, right? You can't see them, you can't understand tone. And so sometimes we assume things, we misconstrue things, we don't perceive things the right way, but it's something about when someone is in front of you and you can see how they're acting, their body language, their movement, you can hear their tone, you can effectively just see everything that you need to see. And from being able to have clear vision about what you can see, now you can say, do you deserve access into my life in certain ways? Or do you not? And do I need to stand firm with even pushing the boundary back a little bit because I'm seeing who you are now, right? Because when people come into our lives, sometimes we need to push the boundary back, or sometimes we can move it forward and say, you can take a step closer to me. You can take a step closer to me in my life. And there are different access points that we give people as we navigate relationships. There are boundaries that we can set in this way, and there are boundaries that we can set in this way. There are access points. Some people have full access to us, and some people do not have full access to us, right? Which is why we have friends in our lives where it's just like, I got this friend that I can call and I can be vulnerable with. And I can tell them my innermost, vulnerabilities that come from my life and my heart. And there are friends that I can't share those things with you. You just maybe are someone that is good for motivation, or there's different levels to friendship realistically, and we all can feel that. And some people would say, well, maybe they're not necessarily considered a friend, maybe they're considered an associate, right? You can put labels on your friendships and relationships however you want, right? We're just using this as an example. There are different people in our lives for different things. Different people have access to us in different ways, which is why boundaries are so intricate. Because the boundary that you have with this friend may not be the boundary that you have with that friend, may not be the boundaries that you have with a parent or guardian, may not be the boundaries that you have with a spouse or a partner. Boundaries are different for everyone in our lives, right? And so there's also different types of boundaries that we can set based off of the different environments in our lives. There are boundaries that we can set within relationships that we just spoke about. There are boundaries that we can set within ourselves. And there are boundaries that we can set within work settings as well, right? So what's an example of a boundary in a work setting? Let's just hypothetically say you have a job, right? And people come to you and they're always asking you for things because you have this information. And no, there's nothing wrong with helping someone, but if someone's coming to you and they're just like, "Hey, do you know where I can find XYZ? Hey, and they're just always coming from you. Hey, can you help me with this? Because you have that information. Can you help me with this?" And a lot of times I hear so often people are just like, well, I want to be able to help them, right? But I end up putting my own work aside to help someone else, and then I miss my deadlines. Or I'm stressed out now because I took the time to help them and I have to get caught up with my own work. So, how do we set boundaries in the workplace when it comes to something like that? Oftentimes, I tell people, or not tell people, I love to encourage people, right? I don't like to tell people what to do. I love to encourage people to do something because it's their choice at what they choose to implement in their lives or not. So oftentimes I encourage people when people come to you and ask you at work to help them with something, if it's not a small task, if it's something that you're going to have to put your stuff aside and help them with, I say, ask them or let them know, hey, can I get back to you on that? Let me look at my calendar. Let me look at my calendar. And you sometimes don't want to look at your calendar in front of them because then you're just kind of like, okay, let me just fit them in here somewhere. They're waiting for me. I encourage people to say, hey, let me get back to you with that. I'm going to take a look at my calendar. I might be able to squeeze you in on Thursday, but I'll let you know. Right? That way it gives you time to evaluate, number one, do I have the capacity to help this person, or should I direct them to someone else that maybe could help them? Number two, I want to look at, can I help them and also maintain my own work so I'm not falling behind, right? And number three, it allows me to take a second just to see if I have the capacity, if it fits in lines with my work schedule, and if I can help them or not, right? Because you want to make sure that you keep yourself and your mental health, your stress tolerance in a healthy place before you exert energy into someone else. And we're just talking about the workplace, right? If someone else needs us or needs our support, we do show up for people. But we're just talking about workplace boundaries. If you are always sacrificing your work, your time, if other people expect you to drop your work and help them, how do we begin to change that to create a healthier environment for you, where you have more peace, where you have less stress, right? So I encourage people to, if that is something that you're going through, number one, you want to talk to a support system in your life, like a therapist, see how that plan fits into your life. We're just using this as an example to say, if this is a reoccurrence, you're always falling behind in your work, you feel stressed out, you're always sacrificing your work to help someone else, a boundary that you could set is not immediately giving someone a yes. That's the boundary, not immediately giving someone a yes. That's actually a double boundary, right? Because you're setting a boundary with them by not immediately giving them a yes, but you're also setting a boundary within yourself to work on people pleasing skills and your people pleasing tendencies. So yeah, people pleasing tendencies. You're working on those by giving yourself a beat and giving yourself a moment and saying, how can I work on this people pleasing? How can I work on always sacrificing my own work? Let me tell them, not giving you immediate yes, but I'm going to look at my calendar and I'm going to take a beat for myself to see if I have the capacity. That's a duality boundary right there. It works both ways. So that's just one example of a work boundary. So we talked about boundaries in relationships. We talked about work boundaries. Now, and we also hit a little bit on what a boundary is within ourselves, right? Checking in with ourselves, seeing if we have the capacity and seeing the changes that we need to make. So, let's talk a little bit about the trials and errors of boundary setting. We talked a little bit about in the beginning of the episode of how when we do choose to set a boundary, sometimes there's trials and errors because we can set a boundary and then all of a sudden we get to that one point and it's just like, what happened to my boundary? My boundary is no longer there. Right. So what's an example of this happening is, let's just say if you have a friendship. And in that friendship, your friend is always coming to you with their challenges, always coming to you with their issues. And they're just like, I'm coming to you because you give the best advice. And every time you pour into this friend, and every time you give them advice, and every time you try to help them navigate their situation, they just go right back to that situation. And this has been a repetitive pattern over and over and over again. And one day you decide to tell your friend, you say, hey, every time I pour, into you encouragement, advice, I find that you just go right back to that situation and everything that I said kind of goes out the window or is taken in vain. Right. And so you tell your friend, like, I love you. I'm going to be here for you. I cannot tell you, not to be with that person or go through that challenge or whatever it is that they're doing. I can't tell you that's your own decision to make, but I'm going to be here for you. If you just need someone to sit with, if you need someone just to listen to you, I can do that, but I can't keep pouring into a bag with a hole in it, you know? I can't keep pouring into something where it's just going to drain right out of it. And so that's the boundary that you have set with your friend to try to maintain healthy in you and try to maintain healthy in the relationship. Because when we get frustrated with someone in a relationship dynamic, sometimes, a lot of times, we end up pulling back and pulling back and pulling back and isolating. And then that friend is just like, hey, are you okay? We don't talk like we used to. We don't hang out like we used to. That's the importance of a boundary when you feel yourself being drained in a relationship. So you set that healthy boundary so your stress stays down and the environment in the friendship and the relationship can stay in a stable, healthy manner, right? But then all of a sudden, your friend just keeps going through these challenges and going through the challenges, and she's just like, oh, but I just need you. I need to talk to you. And sometimes because the heart we have, right, and kindness that we have, we're like, okay, what advice do you need? And then all of a sudden that one time turns into two times, and that two times turns into four times. And then you get to this point where you're just like, how did I end up right back in the same position and place, just being drained? And then all my encouragement, all my advice is just being emptied out at the bottom of that bag. It goes into the bag, and then because it has a hole in it, it's just poured out. And now me and my friend are back in this unhealthy cycle, and it's affecting our friendship and our relationship. What happened to my boundary that I set? Well, you can go back and you can say, okay, where do I feel like it went back off track? Because I was doing good with my boundary. Let's just say we were doing good for about 3, 4, 5 months. And then all of a sudden, I heard that I need you. And sometimes when the people that we love, when we hear I need you, or, we can see that they do need us in a way, or need our support, or need our love, we just kind of like, let me move this boundary for a second. But when we move the boundary for a second, and this can be applied to anything, work, home, relationships, whatever type of relationship dynamic, whenever we move a boundary, it is an open door for the same cycles and patterns to come back in and begin repeating itself. It is an open door. When we open the door one time, sometimes people are just like, but wait, I may need more. Right? So you ever go somewhere and you try to keep a door open for somebody and you stick your foot out or you stick your arm out, the elevator door is closed and you stick your arm out to stop it. It's just like, imagine when someone needs us for our support and they're just like, but wait, and that door opens up and that door stays open. And then it just invites that same cycle and pattern to come back in. And that can be with any boundary that we set, even that boundary that we said in the beginning where we said no is a complete sentence. So we're doing good at saying no in appropriate circumstances, right? Because we know there are circumstances where we can say no, but then we know that there are circumstances where a yes is warranted. Right? We're not cold-hearted. We're not, mean in setting our no boundary. There will be circumstances that are appropriate to say no in, and circumstances that are appropriate to say yes in. We just have to find a balance. We have to find a balance. So when we start saying no, we're doing really good. And then all of a sudden, we say yes. And then we say yes again. And that yes is an open door that just continues to allow the cycle to come back in. And because it was a cycle that was normalized in our lives before, we became familiar with it. Sometimes it becomes a comfort zone. We ease right back into that comfort zone. And that's how we keep ending up in circumstances. And it's just like, how do I keep getting here? I keep setting the boundary. Then I get to one point and I keep ending up right where I left off at. Sometimes we have to be careful of the open doors that we allow and we think that they are one-time or two-time circumstances. We have to be careful of the open doors that we leave in our lives for people that we set boundaries with, but also for ourselves that we set boundaries with, right? I'm a big foodie. So if I tell myself, I'm not going to eat Oreos no more. Right? If I tell myself I'm not going to eat Oreos no more or cookies no more, it could be any sweet. Like if I have a goal in my life not to eat a sweet treat, I tell myself I'm not going to eat that sweet. And then all of a sudden I'm at a birthday party, right? Because I got invited to a birthday party. Then all of a sudden they're just like, oh, we have some cookies and cake. Would you like a slice? And it's just like, well, I can't not have a slice of the birthday cake, right? We're celebrating a birthday here. And then all of a sudden I have that one sweet and I'm just like, ooh, this tastes so good. But I had set that boundary with myself that in this time, in this season of my life, I'm not eating sweets, right? For a limited time. And then all of a sudden I opened the door to say, okay, I'm gonna just do it this one time because it's a special occasion. I can just overstep my boundary one time. It's a special occasion. Let me just erase that line in the sand. Just this one time. And then I have the cake or the cookies or the sweet. And then all of a sudden, later on that night, they done gave me a piece of cake to go from the birthday party. And I'm just like, well, it's still the birthday cake, right? So that door is still open. That piece of cake was like, but wait, I'm still associated with the birthday. So you eat that piece of cake. And then all of a sudden you're in the grocery store and you're just like, well, I was good at just doing it that one time. Let me grab this pack of cookies. And then all of a sudden you're eating a pack of cookies, right? And then all of a sudden it just one open door to the boundary that we set within ourselves or with other people. When we open that door, it has the capacity, it gives the access to old habits and old ways that come in and stop us from maintaining healthy positions in our lives that we're trying to set for ourselves. We have to be careful about the doors and the access points that we think are one-time occurrences, that we think are just, I could just do this and I have self-discipline and I'm not going to fall back into that pattern or routine. You can. You can. If you do not be careful what you give access to in your life after you have set a boundary, after you have created a healthy environment in your life, if you do not be careful what you give access to or what you open that door to, you'll find yourself right back in a position that you were in before, saying, how did I get back to this point? Right? And a lot of times people say, well, now I have to start over. I want to encourage you to understand you don't have to start over. Because you've gone through the experience before, because you've gotten to a certain point, you now have the skills and the tools to navigate that point and say, what do I need to bypass this point that I always get to and I never get through. You are not starting from scratch. You are not starting from zero. You are starting from experience, right? Video games. If you play video games and you always get to one point in the game, if there are automatic saves, just because you get to that point and then you fail, it doesn't take you all the way back to the beginning. It takes you back to wherever you failed at, wherever you may have lost, in the game at. Does not take you all the way back. Our lives are the same. When we get to a certain point in our boundaries, in our lives, in our goals, and we fail because of a trial, an error, a challenge comes along the way, none of the experience that we've gone through to get to that point erases. It's like a save point in our lives. None of the experience erases that we go through. So when we fail, we're not going back to the beginning. We may have to go back to that point and say, okay, what can I do differently here? Right? So when a boundary fails, or when we move that boundary, or when we lose sight of that boundary, when we get to that point of failure or trial, we can say, what do I need when I get to this point at this level of my life? What experience gathered, what tools learned, what lessons learned can I use to move past this point, to work on and through it, to press through? Do not give up on yourself. Do not lose sight of your boundaries. Do not lose sight of your goals. Boundary setting can be a goal for a lot of people. And how many of us know that goals is a process? So if we know that boundary settings can be a goal for us in our lives, and goals are a process that we go through and they can be a journey to achieve them. And once we do achieve them, we feel wonderful in the success of accomplishing it. Your boundaries will be a process. Don't get discouraged. Don't give up. Don't get to one point and say, well, how did I get back here? Maybe this isn't the boundary that I need to set. If you feel like it is a healthy boundary and it's going to help you in your life, continue to set it. But look at that one point in that one area that maybe you just have trouble overcoming or getting through, or you get to this one point and you're just like, oh, I feel really guilty. I can't do it anymore. I don't want to carry this guilt. If it is a healthy boundary for you and it will do good and be good for your life, ask yourself, what is it about that one point that I just need to break through? And I'll be okay maintaining this boundary. I encourage you to continue to work on it. Don't give up on yourself. Do not quit on yourself. Don't quit on yourself. You know, I get so happy when I see people that want to work on themselves. People that say, you know what, it just I can't get it right, but it's just something in me that just feels like there's more. I get so excited when I see that. And I tell people all the time, I'm so happy to see your face. I'm so happy that you did not give up. I'm so happy that you did not quit. I'm so happy that you are here, right? Even if you're on your last leg standing, even if you feel like you're drowning and the only thing that's above the water is your nose, I am so happy that you still want to keep going, that you still want to get your head above water, that you still want to set that boundary, that you still desire healthy for your life and you do not want to quit or stop because there is more to it. There's so much more to your lives than what it is right now. You could be in a great place in your life, and guess what? There's still so much more to the rest of your life. You could be in a low place right now, and guess what? There is more to your life. So stand fast in whatever you need to endure in, whatever you need to make it through. There is more to your life. You have purpose in your life. Yes, you are worthy. You are worth it. Stand strong and continue to take steps. Give yourself what you need to take them steps. Find support and encouragement in your life to take those steps. You do not have to do it alone. Counselors, therapists are great support systems if you're saying, I don't have family, I don't have friends. Find a group that you can join. Find a hobby, a social setting, a church. Find someone that's going to pour into you. A healthy environment. There's a lot of places out there where you feel like, oh, this one isn't good. This isn't a good fit for me. I don't get a good vibe from that. Find a healthy environment. Don't just join any social setting or don't just join any circumstance. It has to be the right one. It has to be the right fit. Find a support because encouragement is so important. We are not meant to do life by ourselves. Loneliness and being alone, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes, as much as we encourage and we pour inside of ourselves, sometimes we need that overflow from other people, right? Don't quit. I encourage you, whatever position you're in life right now, if you feel like you are on your last, if you feel like you cannot make it, I want to encourage you today. Yes, you can. Take a second and check in on yourselves. Take a second and see what you need. Take a second and see how you can build up capacity inside of yourselves. You may need to give yourself something before you continue your journey of endurance. But I want to encourage you that yes, you can because there is so much more for you. So much more for you. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but I'm happy that you're listening to it. I'm happy that you decided to tune in. I'm happy that you decided to continue listening throughout the episode. I just want to let you know that there is so much more to your life. It doesn't matter if you are 18, it doesn't matter if you are 80. A lot of times when I talk to older people, they say, I don't have much life in me. I'm just going to be content with my life. Don't be content with your life. Be peaceful with your life, but know that there's always more for you. There's always more. There is always more for you. Whatever you have done in your life, it does not define you. Whatever you feel like, you know what, I just need to sit right here and just be. You don't have to just be. And I'm not saying get up and run marathons and like do different things, right? Because at different ages and different levels and different stages for our lives, there's an appropriate level of healthy. And there's an appropriate level of there's more for you. But I just want to be an encouragement to someone that may be going through something, to let you know, yes, you are still worthy. Whatever broke you before, whatever you have been through, whatever you have done that you feel makes you unworthy, you are still worthy because that thing does not define you. Seek healing, seek forgiveness, seek love, seek support because you have somewhere to be and you are somebody to walk through this life with purpose. It's never too late to turn your life around, to go through your journey of healing and change, and to actually walk into a new version of yourself and to be that person. It's never too late to create a healthier lifestyle within your life and in your environment. It's never too late to be everything that you were called to be and to be who you were called to be as you continue to walk this earth. It is never too late, ever. So I'm so happy once again that you are listening to this podcast. Use it as encouragement if you don't have anyone else. If you feel like you don't seek encouragement from anywhere else. If you feel like you don't have encouragement from anywhere else. If you have encouragement from anywhere else, use this as an overflow of encouragement for you in your life. I am so happy that you tuned in. I am so happy to virtually that you can see my face and be here. With that being said, thank you so much for joining another episode of Talk Connected Podcast. My name is Virginia Murray. I am a licensed professional counselor, and I hope that you have the most beautiful, awesome, intentional, purpose driven day that you can have. Matter of fact, week, month, year. I just hope it's all extraordinarily awesome for you. Continue to tune in. We'll go through different topics. Today, we just learned a little bit about what a boundary is, how to navigate boundary setting. We learned that there will be challenges and ebbs and flows through boundary setting. We learned that there are boundaries that we can set within ourselves, within our lives, our relationship, our work. So just have a beautiful, awesome, extraordinary, purpose-driven, intentional day, week, month, year, and I'll see you all next time to continue. Bye-bye.